go. Um, Good Wochen, good Chodesh, everyone. Welcome to the learning of the Motzei Shabbos, Sichos Haran, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It's the birthday of Rabbeinu HaKadosh Rabbi Nachman Breslov. He was born on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and he was Mistalik on Yudches Tishrei. Like he is bridging the summer and the winter. The summer is supposed to be the time of light, but the Maisa, everybody, getting basically undressed with the summer. Not everybody else. That the heat actually caused people to take their clothes off more and more. So it's actually that's a season of darkness, and during the winter, I mean, there's a big Indian. The winter is the time of Avodas Hashem. The Pinchas of Koretz used to call the winter night the Gilded Nächten, the golden nights, because the nights are so long, so you can wake up Chatzos and do a lot of Avodas Hashem at night. So, without further ado, let's bring up the Sichos Haran for this week. And here we go. It says Rabbeinu as follows: Mi she'eino shomea u'metzayes ledivrei chachamim amitim. Anybody who doesn't listen and obey the words of true chachamim, yichol ishtageh. He can get crazy. Ke'ikar shigon shel kol ha'mishugoyim, because the main insanity of all the mishugoyim, urak mechmas shehu eino metzayes v'shomea ledivrei ba'alei sechel. The only reason for the madness of deranged people is because they don't listen, they don't obey people who have real seichel. It's a totally different istaklos on insanity and sanity, one which I'm sure the big pharma would not really like. They have been working since heroin was made illegal in the beginning of the 20th century. They have been working very, very hard on the universities and the faculties for psychology and psychiatry, and over time managed to bring back, they call, different conditions, they call them, they're starting giving them names, different kind of conditions. And with that, they're bringing new medicine, because it's a condition. It's no longer just madness. It's a condition. Once it has a name, that is, now it gives justification to actually giving it a drug. And the drugs that they have today are I think they're stronger than heroin. But this is basically what they are, the different opiates and I don't know, fentanyl or whatever it is, and get people hooked. They worked for over a century. Rabbeinu says something, Ikar shigon shel kol mishugoyim, the main madness of all the Mishagoyim, and now we're not talking about somebody, obviously, that was born, psychotic. Somebody who has like a psychopath or people like that that are defective in their brain. What about the craziness of all the Mishigoyim in the world, and basically, we're not just talking about people that are in insane asylums. We're talking about people like us. The Shigoyim of people like us. When you take a look at what's going on, at what's written in newspapers, it's pure madness. It's pure madness. When you're taking a look, at the richest person in the world, all right? What's the point? What's the point? What's the point to be? If you have $50 billion or $100 billion, what difference does it make? No, the point is not about the money. The whole thing is a shigoyon. They come up with theories, and then they explain the theories, and then they justify it and they ask a question. The whole thing is a bubble. The whole thing is madness. But even beyond that, the main union by us and for us is a realization that there's an olam haba. There is an olam haba. And any kind of lifestyle that justifies making a chefza of this world is pure madness. It's pure madness. Let's just finish the Sicha. We get into this. And he's saying, I'm going to say it as follows. Because the madman, if he would listen and obey to the words of others who are Baal Seichel, who really, have Seichel, Bevadai lo yamshugel klal. For sure he would not be mad. He wouldn't be deranged. He wouldn't be crazy. Ki af al pi, shelefi ruach hashtus v'shigoyin shelo, according to his spirit of folly and madness, nidmila bevir gomer, it seems to him totally clear, totally obvious, shutzorech leilach karua v'lizgalgal ba'ashpa, that he has to go with torn clothes and roll around in the garbage. And various ways of shtus and craziness. The same thing is, you say here you see somebody who's rolling in garbage. What's the difference between this and people getting tattooed or getting pierced or whatever? It's the same thing. It's the same madness. It says, even though somebody was mad, that has a ruach shtus and shigoyim. In other words, there is something in there, that gives him a propensity, given a proclivity for insanity. Still, since the one who is greater than him, tell he's not supposed to be that way. If he would nullify his own opinion vis-a-vis the opinion of somebody who is greater than him in Chochmah, listen to this. Bevadai hayom misbatal kol shigon shalai. Bevadai, his madness would be totally cancelled out. Nimtza sheikar shigon, the main, the crux of insanity is only because a person does not want to hear, does not want to obey the divrei chachamim. Rabbeinu says, "V'haven adova heitev," and you should understand this particular matter, deeply and profoundly. It's incredibly important to remember. Everything that we do between us is bringing about is bringing about both our personal tikkun as well as tikkun olam. It's always everything you do, the proteus, projects on the global picture of the olam kuloi, the gashmis and beruchnis. Okay, we're talking about, this is Sicha Samech Zain. 67, I'm sorry I didn't know. The main Indian that we're trying to make here is even though the fact that we are listening to this and we are learning this and we are internalizing this is tikkun olam. It really is, because there is the effect in the elevation of the malchus and the shechina and everything that goes along, especially Rosh Chodesh Nisan, preparing for Pesach and everything. And so it's interesting because I understand, as Rabbi Rosenfeld said, that psychotic and psychopath are very different conditions. I taught courses on the history of mental illness and treatments. What was worked as full spectrum people with types of real mental illness and many issues here. I totally agree. What Rabbeinu is saying here, I will probably not talking about specifically people that have what you would call, for lack of a better word, pathological mental conditions. We're not talking about that. We're talking the kind of insanity that we have. Rabbeinu says that even somebody who was close in the spectrum, that he has this ruach shtus, he has this shigun. Rabbeinu says in Torah Aleph, he says this particular Indian, he says, because anybody who's doing a ver is meshuga mamish. That's what he says in Torah Aleph. And he says the same way that a person who is meshuga, Rabbeinu says that his refuah is to hit him with sticks and to put shemus on him. I remember my sister, when she was, learning psychology at university, she's a graphologist, whatever. So in her courses of that, she spoke, very professors, whatever. She said, what we basically do to people in insane asylum, we give them electric shocks. Basically, we're beating them up. That's basically what we're doing. So comes the question of Rabbeinu says that the Torah constitutes, it's both sticks and shemus, because every single word in the Torah is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shemus is something that has a seguladik maila. That comes to tell us that for people who are insane, people that are deranged, people that are crazy, you need to have an aspect of a seguladik thing, such as a refuah, which is represented with shemus, or the shemus aspect of the Torah. At the same time, the Torah pchinas maklos, the Torah is a stick. And it says a mad person needs to be beaten up in order to be healed from his insanity. So that brings up the question: if insanity is like a ruach ra, as Rabbeinu says, ruach shtus, we say like a dibuk or something like this. Okay, so you understand this is something you need to use shemus for it. So why are you hitting them with a stick? What good will it do? He's mad. He's insane. And if you have to hit them with sticks, that means that he has free choice in this. And a person is behaving insanely until sticks doesn't necessarily have to be somebody beating them up. Sometimes a letter from a lawyer can do the trick. A fear of something like this. It's a stick. So what is the chiluk between why Rabbeinu says like the Meshuggah needs to be in Torah? Meshuggah needs both things. You need to beat them up with sticks, and you need to put shemis on them. So there are many ways to learn this, but the way that I personally understood it means to say that each and every one of us really has three zones. Three. Not free as in out of jail, but three. One, two, three. Um, we have areas in which we're normal. We eat when we're hungry. We're not going in the streets barefoot or with torn clothes. Even people who are mentally ill have a certain zone in which they're functioning. At least most of them, I don't know. But we're not talking about, we're not opening up a mental treatment facility. We're talking about us. The second zone is on all the way on the other side of the spectrum. We're crazy. We're crazy. We're crazy not necessarily because we choose to be crazy. We're crazy because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has created the world in concealment. As I think that the Berditchev Rav said that if Gehenim would be evident in the street, could be seen in the street, and the Yetzer Hara would be in Reshis Chochma, everybody would be a tzaddik. But the problem is fakir. Gehenim is described in Reshis Chochma, and Yetzer Hara is in the street. The problem is we are in the street. Kadosh Baruch Hu has concealed the emes for Bechir. Now, the question is, what are we listening to? It's that kind of, I would say, capacity for madness, capacity for insanity exists in all of us. Adam Ayer Per. He's a wild beast. A person's a wild beast. He has the propensity to be that. So one side, there is a side of us that it's mad, it's crazy. On the other side, there is a side of us that is totally normal, that is functioning. In between these two extremes, there's a middle of the road area in which we know that what we're doing is insane, but we just don't give a damn. And the reason why we don't give a hoot about it is because we are aware of our insanity and we define ourselves. It's crazy. It's a known thing, by the way, again, going into this thing again, that when people are taken into insane asylums, they're hospitalized there, they are letting go. They're letting go of whatever things that they used to do. They used to sort of like, they used even things that they know that they that were able to force themselves to behave, you know, normally, they let go of it. Why? I'm insane asylum. I'm crazy anyhow. So why bother? Why fight it? It is I'm crazy. For the part that is totally insane, over here this is Ruach Shtus. Here you need the Shemus, the Sgulodic part of the Torah. For the part that doesn't give a hoot, that doesn't care, because this is I'm crazy anyhow, the person needs to be hit. He has to be afraid. Why, when he was outside in San Salam, he was beheaded? Because he was afraid. You know, he lives in society. People will arrest him. They put him already in San Salam, forget it. He's just letting go. But the important thing is not to speak about insane asylums. The important thing is to speak about ourselves. You know, each and every one of us have a certain kind of tunnel vision of this is the way I am. Okay? I wear the clothes, I don't wear the clothes. I work on davening, I don't work on davening. I learn Torah, I don't learn Torah. I guard my eyes, I don't guard my eyes. To what degree I guard my eyes. Each and every one of us has a certain kind of a definition of that's my Yiddishkeit. That's my Yiddishkeit is a double-edged sword. On one hand, obviously, it keeps you from going down. None of us is going to go out and rob a bank, I hope. You know, but nevertheless, it also keeps us mad. It keeps us insane. You know what I'm saying? What about it? You know what? Waking up chatzois and davening vasik, you know what? I'm not holding there. You're right. You're right. But the fact that you're not holding there, that's not a problem. The problem is you don't even want to hold there. Say that that's my way. What do you want? I'm fine. I won't say that I'm fine. You know, of course not. But I'm fine. The only way that we can actually keep on our toes and understand that, yeah, you cannot become a tzaddik tomorrow. You can do tshuva right now. You call tzaddik gomer mekadesh isha anasha nitzadik gomer sofek mekudeshes shema hiru tshuva. Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, when we say on about Moshe Rabbeinu, Tmunas Hashem Yabit. We say in Torah Chaf Aleph, this is where we are holding Tmunas Hashem. That's the Tikkun Einav of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Horeb Nachman says in Bira Likutim that the nose and the ears and the eyes have two, which means that they have a chesed and din. You know, that there's not too much this and not too much that. Tmunas Hashem Yabit, usually when we speak about Moshe Rabbeinu, and we are like saying, what is Moshe Rabbeinu? Wow, you know Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what Madrega is? He can see Hashem. That's in the Chesed part of the Enaim. But there's also a Gvura part in the Enaim, in Tmunas Hashem Yabit. Moshe Rabbeinu did not look, obviously, what's below him, obviously. You're not looking something that is below you. But he also didn't look on what is above him. The most important nekuda in Shema Divrei Chachamim is this balance between the chesed and the gvura of not to look at what is beneath you and not to look at what is beyond you. This kind of balance is represented in this week's parsha, as we read, Chol asher natan Hashem Elokim chochma u'tvuna b'hema. All Hashem gave Chochma and Tvuna, Behema. Chazal says, Behema, Ele Bnei Adam, Ha'arubim B'das, these are the people who have incredible minds. Hamisimim Atzmam Kebehema, that make himself like Behema. I don't know. So Nosson says, this is a very, very important nakuda. Because when somebody listens to the Chachamim, by him, his behavior is a behavior of Adam. You don't look down. You don't behave down. You don't do things that you shouldn't do. You're a human being. But when it comes to das, it says, what does it mean? I look at that which I am shown. This is what I'm looking at. I don't look down, obviously, but I don't look above it either. Rabbi says when you don't do that, when you're looking beyond what's befitting for you, what happens is that you're starting to develop theories. So we're not talking about the virus, chas v'chalila. But you started to become a maven. You start being theories. One of your theories, well, if you have your theory, now you want to tell people about these theories. You're starting being a doctor. You're starting being a maven. He says, and you lead people off. You're inventing false Yiddishkeit. The thing is, what we keep on saying, Reb Nosson says that if a person keeps to the right measurement of what to look at and what not to look at. He says, always look at whatever it is the Chachamim are showing you. That's it. Don't look up, don't look down. Just look at it straight. He says, you'll keep on developing and going up and up and up and become a tzaddik amiti until you come to Olam Haba, because whatever it is that you'll be masig, whatever it is that you'll attain, it will always be true. It will always be, it'll fit you. It'll fit your size. It won't be beyond your pay grade. This is an incredibly important nakuda. Rabbeinu says, if you don't listen to Chachamim, you become crazy. Somebody who starts, put himself as a rav in whatever, and start and developing through hakirs, through this. We're talking about somebody who's basically, he's a kosher yid. Everything is good with him. But what happens is he does not listen to Chachamim. He does not. Rabbeinu says that a part of what you get from the tzaddik is not that he gives you more than you had before. He says, but he also keeps you bordered in to the kind of constriction that is good for you. Continue madrega. If you're feeding a baby food with no regard to what the ability of the baby is to digest. Heck, why talk about babies? Let's talk about us. When we're eating something which is not good for us, what does it do? It spoils us. And the thing is, the same way that this world today is insane, and the insanity can come to each and every person quicker than ever before. The same thing physically. It's practically impossible for a person to eat healthy food if you're just living normal life. Everything we eat is basically refined carbs or whatever it is. I'm not an expert on these theories, whatever it is. But even the specific carbs, even the grains, are engineered to such a degree. It's a Frankenstein of food, basically. And it brings, and what happens to people? So it brings about all the modern diseases. But the same thing applies to the modern opinions. It gives us spiritual heart disease, spiritual dementia, spiritual diabetes. Yeah, you can draw whatever, whatever parallels you want, ever nimshal to the muscle. It doesn't matter. The point is that we need to be in a diet. Any diet is comprised of what to consume and what not to consume. Each one is just as important. And the only way that we can actually do it, we cannot judge by ourselves. We have to follow the das of tzaddikim. When somebody listens to the das of tzaddikim, das of tzaddikim is kuloi zera emes. It's a seed of truth. It's totally true. When you plant a seed in you, which is the seed of truth, and you water it with the water of truth, just the right amount, what grows? Truth grows from that. When you get advice from Rashan, what do you get? You get sheker, you get shigon, you get craziness. How do we know what we should listen to, what we shouldn't listen? Listen to Chachamim. Listen to the tzaddikim. Rabbeinu says that anybody who doesn't inoculate his children is shofech damim. We learned that. Rabbeinu said that. But it's so tempting. You see, whenever it says inoculation, that's who made them? People of Pekurson, they made them. And therefore, by being against them, that means that you're being religious. You're being like, come on. Has it ever happened that government engineered whatever it is callously and killed millions? Yes. Doesn't mean that every brilliant fellow just never makes mistakes. Bechlal not. Bechlal not. Nobel Prize winners, said nonsense and stuck with them until they died. There was one guy in California that came with this theory. I think that he won Nobel Prize twice. He's the only person who ever did that. Rabbi Akiva Tatz speaks about it. About this person. He came to this theory that you bombard a person with vitamin C and that's the cure for everything. And he died of cancer. I mean, it's just like, so there is no guarantee. So where's the guarantee is listening to tzaddikim, to tzaddikei emes. It's the only way that you can do it. Rabbeinu says even more than that. He says that when a person listens to the eitz of the tzaddikim, even if physically, lemaisa, it quote unquote doesn't work out, it's okay. Because it was b'shert for you, because whatever is happening for us is for our own good. This is what we are learning on Monday night, Ma'aseh B'Chigar. The Chigar is breaking down the concept that you have to succeed in order to be, you have to success in order to succeed. You don't. That's the falsity. Because that means if you're not successful, then you're a failure. If you're not succeeding, that means that you're a failure. And it's not true. Success and failure have nothing to do with being successful, with succeeding. Success is listening to the tzaddikim, listening to the tzaddik, listen to das emes and follow it, like a behemoth. Avram Avinu was taking Yitzchak to the Akedah. The Sultan came to him and spoke to him, Basechel, yo man, what are you doing? You were telling everybody that Hashem doesn't want human sacrifices. You're going to take your son and sacrifice him. Hashem told you, Yitzchak is your progeny. That's it. And now you're going to sacrifice it? Avraham Avinu was in a great sakana. Avraham Avinu says, "Betmimus ani oilech." That's it. I'm being innocent. That was the biggest success of Avraham Avinu, is that he wouldn't listen to who he didn't have to listen. He doesn't look up, he doesn't look down. Betmimus ani oilech. Elu bnei Adam ha'arumim b'das. These are the people of brilliant minds, amasim atzmam kebehema, that make themselves like a behema. I don't know. I know what's in front of me, what the Kosh Baruch Hu wants me to know, what the tzaddik says, this is what you should do. That's what I do. That is the diet. And that diet breeds, over time, step by step, a healthy mind, a healthy outlook. An outlook that you always know that you haven't even started. But at the same time, you always know that that little part of us is dafka. Today we read Parshas HaChodesh. Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is like the kernel of the entire Yiddishkeit. It says that Bereshis, Rashi says, the Torah should have started at Rosh Chodesh Zalachem. The Rosh Chodesh, this is what the Torah has to be started. Now that's the beginning of everything. There's the beginning of Yiddishkeit. There's the be-all and end-all of Yiddishkeit. I'm sure it comes out of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is Koichi Ve'osim Yodi. They are the guys that win the Olympics. They are the guys that win the World Series. They are the guys that are successful and win the Mondial or whatever it is. They are the one that get the Nobel Prizes. They are the one who are successful, that want to make all the money in the world, and they make it to number 1 and number 2 and number 3 in the Forbes list of the most wealthiest men in the world, or whatever. That's Paro. He signifies the entire thing. You got this nation. They were not even a nation before they came out of Mitzrayim. They were just mishpachas. They were families. A gathering of families. They come out of Mitzrayim. Now they become a nation. What the Kodesh Baruch Hu says. What is the mitzvah? The first mitzvah that's going to define them, about what kind of nation it's going to be. Kiddush HaChodesh. Moshe Rabbeinu could not figure it out. What is the measurement of Kiddush HaChodesh? When is it already enough? That's the point. That's the Kodesh Baruch Hu had to show him. The Kodesh Baruch Hu had to show him this is Kazeh Re'eh V'Kadesh. When you see this, like this, that's what Hayom Mekadesh the Chodesh. In other words, it's such a minute little thing. The Moshe Rabbeinu was like this. Moshe Rabbeinu. What is it telling us? We are mentioned like the Lavana. The sun shines, no problem. Night is the sun, day is the sun. Night you don't see it, but then comes again. The Lavana, sometimes big, sometimes small. When it goes big, middle of the Chodesh, then you see the entire Lavana, but that's not what we are celebrating. We're celebrating a tiny little thing. That's it. Am Yisrael. It comes to tell you that which is so small by us. Look at the mitzvah. Put on film today. Everybody puts on film. It's a big deal. So, okay, so I speak to people. Maybe I give them a little stock or whatever it is. But don't make such a big deal out of it. It's a huge deal. Kazeh Re'eh V'Kadesh. We all want to jump on the bandwagon while the wagon is already rolling. We're making a minyan. Okay, when the minyan will get there, when I get 15 people, I'll come. When things will roll, then I'll join the band. I'll. But in the very beginning, just a little thing. Started davening. Let's call it davening, whatever. The Kodesh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, I want each and every Jew not to be fascinated by what is, that's the Nakud that I really love. That's really amazing. That I'd like that. Okay, so this will fall. No, I want you to be Mekadosh what I like in you. I, Kodesh Baruch Hu, like in you as a Jew. I like it when you wake up in the morning, you go to shul. Everybody ready to go to shul? Yes, that's what I like about you. That you get up in the morning and you go to shul to get in with everybody. And I love it when you put it on film. But everybody puts on film. Yes, that's what I love about you. That you put on film, that everybody does. And the power of film combines with everybody else. And I love it when you take, I don't know, 10 agorot and you go, to the pushka and you put it down. I love it. That's what you have to be machshiv. That's the Kiddush HaChodesh. I schachis from the very beginning, which is nothing. We're talking about here, on one hand, be very careful from going any lower. On the other hand, and realize that every single nekuda by you is incredibly important. Because that was the Kadosh Baruch Hu likes. What does it mean? It means just stop for a minute. You don't realize what you are. You're a Jew. The Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world for you. Every single Jewish soul is a singular entity that the world was created for. First the Gemara, Feiros. Chayav kal odam loimar lo nivra elam el bishvili. The world was created for me. You're a Jew. You're a menorah. Anshe kodesh tiuli trefa basada lo tochelu. Lakev tashlichu. Don't eat treif in the field. That is something that is befitting people, but not you, not a Jew. The kodesh kodeshim that you are as a Jew makes it every single point of your Yiddishkeit is a diamond. That if it wasn't for the cover-up of this world, you would see. In Olam Haba, we'll all see it. The Rizal says a murdik thing. Tafka on this week's Pasha. No, that's not the Pasha. He says it in a letter to his son. His son writes him a letter, I'm this and I'm that, I'm not this, I'm not that. So he says, what are you talking about? Look at what you're doing. Look at what you did. Think of this wealth that you are building for yourself. For Olam Haba, tov lecha la'ad u'lenetzach netzochim. It's good for you forever and ever and ever. This entire world is just a dot in the beginning of an endless road. That's all it is. And here you find diamonds every single day. But you will not find it because we are swayed by the madness of this world not to look. And that's the test of this world. The only way that we can, any way, shape, or form, withstand the test is by listening to the tzaddikim. What to do, what not to do. And the thing is that we will fall again and again and again. Beseder. That's why this world is this world. That's your avodah. And all the dibur of the tzaddik, by the fact that it's a das in itself, that's a pchinas shemus that clears, the sguladic aspect of the healing of our minds. The diburim, the toichachas, what are you doing? What are you looking at? What are you reading? What are you eating? How are you behaving? How are you speaking? That's the maklas. The Torah that you learn. Every single word of Torah that you learn. When you learn it, from, with the diet of the tzaddik, it makes it's a chaim. If you're learning Torah without the tzaddik, it builds basically, it's a das tavara. Okay, this is good, this is bad, this to do, this not to do. Okay. And then you start building your own theories. I know Shas, right? I know Shulchan Aruch, Rishonim, Achronim. It's time for me to be a rabbi. Rabbeinu says that Rebbe, so you put him around a little shtickle. Rebbe is Rosh Tevis of Rishoim B'choshech Yidamu. Rishoim in the darkness, they make the mistake. The Dimion pulls them within the darkness. And Rebbe is also Rosh B'nai Israel. If you're listening to Moshe Rabbeinu, if you're listening to Tzaddik Emes, you're Rosh B'nai, he's the Rosh B'nai Israel. But what about me? I've been learning on it long enough. It's about time that I open my own shul, man. It's about time I had my own, telling people, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And the only way that we will stick with the diet that the tzaddikim give us is if we believe in them. What are you supposed to believe? That he knows Torah? We know he knows Torah. See all his farm, right? All the Talmidim he taught. We don't have to believe. We know. No. Believing is that everything that he's saying, there is Rosin v'Rosin de Rosin. And everything that he's saying, there's secret and the secrets of secrets in everything that he's saying. I asked Rabbi Simcha Balev if the tzaddik that you believe in his words, there's Rosin, is he aware of the fact that, in other words, is he like talking to you, like bringing down tremendous secrets all the time, but he's speaking very simply to you? Or is this something just flows out of the fact that he is where he is at? He's a tzaddik not because people call him a tzaddik. He's a tzaddik because he's worked on himself and brought himself to that madrega. So everything that he's saying, he's mechubet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything that pel pe adaber boy, in other words, everything he says is only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has perfect yira. He knows exactly what to reveal, what not to reveal. The eyes, he doesn't look down. So everything that he says is already built in layers upon layers upon layers. So he told me, both, sometimes like this, sometimes like that. Yes, yes. Per definition, everything that somebody had who has worked on himself and made himself into a tzaddik by his avodah, by his arduous work that he worked on himself. When he speaks, there's rosin, the rosin, and everything that he's saying. When you have the deeper emunah you have in that, the more you will listen to what he's saying. The less someone believes in the tzaddik, the more optional whatever the tzaddik is saying is. Okay, it's a nice option. I don't want to, take away from his kavod, chas v'chalila. Don't get me wrong. But okay, there are other opinions. Other people think different. That's the prescription for insanity. Because what's the difference between listening to the tzaddik and between smoking a cigarette? Not listening to the tzaddik and smoking a cigarette. A person that smokes a cigarette is mad. He is crazy. He is insane. 100% bevadai. There's no question about it. This is insanity. Nervin and insanity. So why is he allowing himself? Not everybody gets sick and this. And if you would listen to people of real das, yeah, but listen, this is the apikosim. This is the people that are, this is the doctors, whatever it is. The apikosim was the Kodesh Baruch in the world. The Shem Psoim Hashem. No, sorry. Luckily, Rabbeinu said in Sichos Haran not to smoke. So at least the tzaddik said that. They say a story about the Lubavitcher Rebbe that when he was the secretary of his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, he used to smoke 3 packs a day. Everybody smoked in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. Everybody smoked, And he was smoking, and the story, according to the way I hear it, I don't know, but the way I heard the story is that a doctor came to see the Rebbe Rayatz, and he saw that his secretary, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he was smoking, was chain smoking. So he told him this is unhealthy. It causes diseases. And they say when he came out of the Rebbe Rayatz's room, he says everything was gone. The ashtray was gone. The cigarette, I don't know, whatever it is. So where is it? He said, that's it. He stopped smoking on the spot. Lubavitcher Rebbe, that's it. You said, you revealed to him that this is unhealthy. Nekuda, finish. He's not smoking anymore. That's a das. That's a das amiti. But with the doctor, this is a apikoris, chochmas chitzonis. I don't know whatever it is that you say. Anybody who smokes a cigarette is meshuggah. Why? Because you're not listening to somebody who has a seichel amit. He says this is not healthy. Yeah, maybe there's an option. It doesn't have to be. There's an option. In the meantime, I can steal a few cigarettes. That's insanity. Same thing with not listening to the tzaddik, but anything that he tells you to do. He's giving you sanity with every single word that he's telling you. Don't deviate from everything you're told left or right. I remember I said the word about this. Rashi says, even when they tell you about the left that it's right and the right that it's left, how much more so when they tell you that the right is right and the left is left. So I asked, just a second, if you're already saying that a person should listen to the Chacham even when they tell you something which is opposite of what you think, what do you need to say afterwards, Kol Sheken, that when they tell you what you think, that you should listen to it? It's a pshita. I said the difference between the two is that when they tell you on the left that it's right and right that it's left, and you do what they tell you, it's because you have your own das, but you're mevatel, you nullify your own das vis-a-vis the das of the tzaddik. You still have to fight with yourself every single time. To listen, not to do. Okay, this time, okay, forget about this time. Yeah, now I'm doing it. When they tell you that the right is right and the left is left, that means that your perception of what is left and what is right is the perception of what the tzaddik tells you is left and right. You don't bring your own perception to the table because your perception, my perception, are automatically skewed. I'm crazy. I don't want to bring this. I don't want to put myself down. Kodesh Baruch Hu made the world with madness being an open option, especially to intelligent people. If I don't listen to the tzaddik, I become mad. Nekuda. Period. No ifs, ands, about it. It might be a little bit more. And then you get to Olam Haba. Oh, quel surprise. Oh la la. Oh la la. This is what we are learning every Thursday night when we're learning Terech of Aleph. Kol tzaddik v'tzaddik nichve mechuposo shel chavera. Every tzaddik gets singed from the chub chavera. Pnei Moshe pnei Chama, pnei Yeshua pnei Levana. The face of Moshe is like the sun. The face of Yeshua is like the moon. Oy lo sabusha. Oy lo chepa. Osa klima. What are you talking about? Being Yeshua is ain't bad. Alavai alai. No, what I'm telling you is that when a person gets to Olam Haba and they show him, look, if you only would have listened, if you only would have worked on yourself harder, look what you could have gotten. Oh, but it's too late. The Rishonim, when he says the Iker Einish of Gehenna, is that Busha. Forget about the fact that they're being beaten up, burnt, whatever it is. The main Yisur of Gehenna is what I could have gotten in this world. And I listened to these stupid people and these newspaper men and these opinions and these theories and these all the cockamamie opinion in the world. I listen and look, and it's gone. It's gone. And there's no way to bring it back. Rabbeinu says in the Sicha, one of the chilling Sichos, he says, anybody who listens to me, there's no madrega in the world that I will not bring him to. You hear? Anybody who listens to me, in other words, listens to me and does what I tell him, there's no madrega in the world I will not bring him to. He says people will realize that. He says people will realize that when they're going to be lying on the floor with their feet to the door. This is what they do with the nifter. He says when a person is going to be nifter, is going to be lying on the floor with their feet to the door, he will realize that if he would have listened to me, there's no single madrega in the world that I will not have brought him to. But then it'll be too late. These shurim that we're doing are all about doing it before it's too late. And realize that every single nikuda that we get is a treasure beyond esteem. Your tefillin, your brachas. If you realize that, how will you put in your tefillin? How will you make your brachas? How will you daven in the morning? It's not easy. But if you listen to the tzaddik, you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that. We'll start davening like people. Put in the koyach like people. When it comes to sagas, behema. Hashem Yisborach, B'ezrat Hashem, should help us all, B'ezrat Hashem, to be mekayem this, especially, today, tonight. Everybody can make his birthday. This is the Rebbe's, Rabbeinu's birthday. Chodesh Nisan. Sichos Haran. According to the Torah, this is the beginning, the very beginning of existence. According to the Shita of Rabbi Yeshua, at least. But Bevadai, this is the union of Leidos, the union of birth. And Rosh Chodesh, this is the time of Tshuva. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, the Chatas Rosh Chodesh, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, bring a Chatas for me that I created the Yetzer Hara. What an unbelievable Rachmanis. Kodesh Baruch Hu Kivyochel did something, he has to do Tshuva. With this, we have already an opening to do Tshuva. Rabbeinu says that. Because otherwise, the slightest thing that we do against the Kodesh Baruch Hu's Ratzon, that's it. We're done. We're toast. We're done. So the Kodesh Baruch Hu did something. The Kivyochel is to do tshuva, so we have an opening. We can come in. We can also do tshuva. Okay, Kodesh Baruch Hu himself did. I'm just a human being. Amazing, amazing. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Without Hashem, will